Alright, here's part 2 of our DPP Ubers Invitational Round 2 recap. So, the first series we are going to be going over is Steel Skitty or Jackie against Pogies. T-Tar, not even going to stay in. If it's Chopple or Sash, it would stay in, but if it switches out, it's Lum. Or feasibly something like Custap or even Lefties, but Lum is the most common. So, DOA superpowers as Tina O comes in, so did not go for spikes, was either doesn't have it or was not confident in the ability to handle T-Tar if it did attack DOA. So, surprising considering there's a Zong and a Kyogre, but that was the choice that was made, so might not be a spiking DOA. Anyway, so then Zong comes in on Giratina, eats a nasty Draco crit, gets up rocks, as Steel goes to Skarm. Skarm goes for a Brave Bird as Kyogre switches in, which was unusual. Now, it wound up being useful because it revealed that the Kyogre had leftovers. I assume that Steel was looking to take out DOA, looking to come in and fire off more attacks, so very heads-up play. Not having spikes as Kyogre comes in does kind of suck. I assume Pogies went to a Kyogre because he wants to reveal more of Jackie's team, whereas if DOA comes in, then it might just invite the Tina O back in, and with Zong down, then that's going to be... Well, if Zong invites Kyogre in, or sorry, if Kyogre invites the Lottie Twin in, then you got to be careful with weakened Zong anyway, but it could also wind up ruining those Lottie Twins with a T-Wave. So, good move on Pogies' end, good move on both players' ends. Even though, and for Steel, at least, Brave Bird reveals the Kyogre is lefties, although it doesn't look to be packing a ton of bulk. Though we could be wrong. So there's a Surf as Palkia comes in, no lefties on the Palk, and DOA is sacrificed to a Spatial Rend. So in comes Darkrai, gonna get a Void off. If it's a, well, I guess, well no, even if it's Scarf Palkia, then Spatial Rend does not KO Darkrai from full, so. Anyway, here comes T-Tar. And if it is Lum, as is suggested by it switching out of DOA on the first turn, then it will have to force Darkrai to hit 2 Dark Voids, but those are still pretty good odds. Then the first one misses, and it is Lefty's Darkrai, so that bites. And T-Tar gets up rocks effortlessly as Pogies doesn't risk it, since the first one missed, and Kyogre comes back in on those rocks. And here comes Tina O. So instead of Palkia, mixing it up to... I guess Jackie values Tina O less than Palk at this point with the... Well, I guess with Palk's speed, if it is Scarf, then it has more cleanup potential with the weakened Zong, so that's a good move. Mixing it up like that is helpful. Although it does result in, well, with the full health... Well, now Dialga comes in, and we have the Sinnoh trio here, which makes me happy. But I'm going to assume that it did not want to... It not wanting to switch into an attack... Oh, well, there's a freeze. I was going to say, if it doesn't want to switch into an attack, is it like a set with no lefties that doesn't want to take damage at all costs? But I think Tina O did not need to be sacrificed there. I think Dialga easily could have stayed in. Or Dialga could have come in there. Because, I mean, I don't know what the fear was. Like, maybe T-Wave or something, but there's no guarantee that... I mean, T-Wave Kyogre generally doesn't run speed, but banking on the Kyogre not being able to T-Wave you before you sub, I don't even know if that's a big enough deal to really warrant it, if it's not going to hurt you. And matter of fact, getting T-Wave means Darkrai can't Dark Void you, so... yeah, so the Kyogre is not breaking Surf, Ice Beam, and, Sleep Talking once to avoid getting completely pressure stalled, but it is not breaking this... Well, the freeze helped out because it got some free damage before the Dialga started setting up, but it's still looking pretty brutal at this point. So the Tina O has Aura Sphere, meaning that the super bulked out Dialga is not going to be able to, come out of the exchange without a sub, so that's helpful. And it's very likely that it is, oh, that sucks. Well, I was going to say that it's Calm Mind Tina O, which I always like seeing. And then the second Void Miss really bites, and, something unique here is that this is sub-bulk up Dialga with Outrage. Usually you see Dragon Claw, so I assume the power boost was for muscling through Groudon, maybe other Kyogre, or maybe other Dialga as well. Might give the edge in a one-on-one, although with Skarm around, I don't know how necessary that is. So, but I assume the power boosts. Well, the power boost is significant. There's no denying that. So, yeah, the second Void Miss. This game seems super over unless some. I mean, Dialga is going to be confused now, but still not looking super bright. More confusion, protect for health, Earthquake doing approximately nothing, and there's the sub, and bulking up to even more ridiculous proportions, and Poges just forfeits. So here comes game 2 between these two excellent players. There's DOS, here's Kyogre. Is it going to sash the DOS, or is it just going to get O-code? Surfs, and it does bring DOS down to the sash, so I love that. Sash DOS fell out of favor for a few years, and now it's just back because of the prominence of Kyogre lead. So that's really cool. Happy to see it. What was once the standard fell out and is now the standard again. It all comes around. It's beautiful. Anyway, so here comes Latios, and in comes a Blissey to wall it. Unless this thing has a Roar, which is a very popular technique in Black and White. But now we see Salamence come in, and I love that. So we're just going to switch sides just so we can see Salamence's awesome sprite fully. I mean, the back sprite is great too, but God, that's great. Anyway, so Salamence is very rarely seen in Ubers, and the reason that you would use it is to generally pair it up with Rayquaza and probably a Wobbuffet for a very dangerous physical dual dragon assault. And with Latios, then you have the triple dragon thing, and it draws in things like Scarf, Palkia, and Dialga as revenge killers. And then Wob can remove them. And generally, having that offensive Kyogre check is awesome. And, yeah, having that awesome thing is awesome. But it's very valuable to have that reliable Kyogre check that doesn't skimp out on the offense. I'm just waiting for the 3 attacks refresh Latioses to start popping up to ruin the T-Wave shenanigans that are everywhere. But yeah, so Latios manages to give you the Kyogre check while still piling on the Dragon offense, just on the other side of the spectrum. Scare us out, Skarmory. So, yeah, we're looking at a very a big Dragon assault here, and I like that. So Blissey gets up Rocks, which is not its most common function in Ubers, but of course with all the out-turns it gets against all the special attackers, then it's a good user of it. Doesn't always run Ice Beam. Actually, very rarely it runs Ice Beam. So Mence Steel made the good move by going to Mence and using it as setup fodder, even if it doesn't have Lum. Blissey doesn't T-Wave as much as it Toxics, and Toxic, that's manageable. So Lugia comes in, good answer, and Mence DDs. So Lugia winds up tricking, so it didn't have lefties, so the Scarf Lugia was expected, but what's unexpected is the fact that it doesn't have Ice Beam. I don't know if Poges was afraid of Yachi or something, but Yachi Mence is pretty much never used. And it winds up being Life Orb. Life Orb or Lum. And generally in Ubers, Mence needs the extra power to break through the Groudons and Dialgas. So it is Life Orb. So the fact that Scarf Lugia without Ice Beam was definitely surprising. So, yeah, now Mence is going to Outrage and do 50 and take out the Lugia, so that was unexpected. I mean, I am really happy to see Scarf Lugia. That is really cool. But I was just surprised. Although, I suppose that now locking it into Outrage even more than it already was does give Fortress a very free spin, but I don't know. I'm just going to assume that it didn't have Ice Beam. So the Rocks and Spikes are gone, and now Mence has an attack boost and is hitting itself in confusion, and down go the T-Spikes. Problem is with Latios and Ray in the back, those aren't really going to be helpful, but then again, now they're regular spikes. And Fori shows Gyro Ball, which is also not seen as much, and gets up another layer of spikes as Mence KOs itself in confusion. So Fori got a lot done. So in that sense, then it was usable. That was a good long-term thinking from Poges, actually. I like that. Actually, no, I'm going to take it back. Even if it did have Ice Beam, the Scarf Lugia, which is very likely, then Poges thought long-term rather than just the instant threat of the Mence. And by sacrificing the Lugia, he was able to clear the field of hazards with Fori, and maybe even get up his own, depending on the duration of the Outrage. Because with all these, with Latios and Mence, then there means there's going to be a Rayquaza, and then likely a Wob, and in that last slot, you're going to need some more automatic speed, like a Scarfer of your own, so it's probably not going to be a Giratina O, so the spin was very, very likely. So that was a really, really nice heads-up play by Poges, so I take back what I said earlier. That was really nicely done, in fact. And now Blissey can switch into Latios unencumbered by Hazard. So that was really, really... I can't stress enough how much I like that to get the momentum back for the long term. So rather than, Ice Beam and then you get picked off and Hazard is still down and the rest of your team suffers. So instead, Lugia sacrificed itself for the benefit for the rest of its team. So nicely done. Here comes Jirachi. So that's going to be the Dragon move absorber when you've got all these dragons. And it's also going to be the Scarfer, almost surely, because like we said, you do need speed on such a team. And it does come in, and it just Iron Heads away, and Kyogre absorbs it, even with the crit, not doing very much. Just freely going for Surf, as Blissey's going to switch into Latios all day, and if Scarf Jirachi is the Blissey switch, but it's not. In comes Wob. Thing is that even if... What Wob's gonna do now is ensure that Rayquaza gets a turn of setup. The problem is that there's not really a guarantee. I mean, but that's the nature of these kinds of teams, especially without hazards. Because Latios and Jirachi aren't really doing anything on their own. So Rayquaza is really going to have to carry this game. So, I don't know why Pogies went for Rocks there. I mean, I don't know. Because Blissey getting countered for 200 HP is not very bad at all, I don't think. And so if Steel encored Pogies into Seismic Toss and then countered, then Wob would go down, and that'd be fine, and Blissey would barely lose any health. And Seismic Tossing Rayquaza that might have Life Orb or locking into Seismic Toss is much better than locking into Rocks. At least that gives you the option. So I don't think locking into Rocks there was really too good. And here comes the Ray. So now it's gonna dance up at whether Swords. Yep, it's Swords. And Pogies has a very, very bulky team, and the Scarf Lugia is down. On a side note, I do like Scarf Lugia on these stall teams to give them some more offensive leaning. The speed, the pressure to apply to opposing teams with Trick. So, yeah, with SD Ray against a slow stall team with completely free setup, then that... Well, and it is Life Orb, so, yeah, I think locking into Seismic was going to be much better. And, yeah, you don't want to necessarily take an Outrage. You can still take one Outrage if need be, and then heal up on Latios. So, and, there's even Ludicolo. So, yeah, I don't think locking into Rocks was the move there at all. And now, well, the... good news is that with Protect, then Ray eventually gets confused as well, so maybe Pogies was just counting on that. Eventually it's going to KO itself in confusion because of SD and all the power, and yeah, so Ray switches out, and that basically means that Steel has Healing Wish on Jirachi, and Ray's going to come back for a second assault. So, Ludi is going to stay in on Lottie and get a bunch of health back, but get paralyzed, but that doesn't really make a difference. I mean, the Toxic misses, which, I suppose... Actually, that Toxic miss is relevant because it means that Latios switches into Rocks once more. But, what's more... Yeah, I don't think even if... Well, Jirachi can't Healing Wish in front of the Ludicolo because of the way a Healing Wish works in this gen, which means that... what's it called? Sorry, I was thinking of another replay in this tournament where... Actually, we're going to pull that up next just because it's funny. But, and I don't think we've covered it in this channel before. But yeah, because of the way the turn doesn't end, basically, when you Healing Wish. So if Jirachi Healing Wishes to Rayquaza on this turn and Pogies uses Leech Seed, the Rayquaza will be hit by Leech Seed. And... yeah, if you SD on the Leech Seed, then that's one thing. And the good thing is that Rocks are going to go first, so Ray will be at full at least. But, switching into the Leech Seed and then still having to get up the SD is, not going to work. So, but then again, Steel might just go for U-turn. That might be safer. And Trick instead, so locks in the Leech Seed, so nicely done. And now, yeah, now here come... Well... Now, for some reason, Pogies switches out. I don't really understand that either. I don't know what was wrong with locking into Leech Seed. At this point, Ludicolo is Scarfed, so you may as well just... Yeah, I don't know. I think leeching there was fine, specifically so the Ray couldn't get Healing Wish too. I mean, I guess not every Scarf Jirachi has Healing Wish, but I think on a team like this, then it's very, very likely. So, I don't know, I guess I have a bit of a hindsight bias, or confirmation bias, but I don't know, it's, I don't think it was, here, you can't switch around as much when you're so behind and the threats are so big. You gotta, you know, minimize your switching, you gotta keep attacking, be aggressive, even if the attack is Leech Seed, so, that is what I was thinking. So, yeah, so now Ray has a super free SD, and that's going to be the game. So it was an interesting series. I love seeing Mence, and yeah, in general, those were the rest of my thoughts. But yeah, good series, and that's going to start off the video. So just to give you an example of why, oh, it is a Encore Wob. Yeah, so yeah, good move by Steel to switch out on the confused turn and come back for another Encore SD to safely close it out. So when I was mentioning, I don't think I covered this game in anything else. And before we go on to Manafee versus Jirachi, then I want to pull it up because it is truly hilarious. Just as an example of what Healing Wish is like. This is, I believe the game was Finchinator versus FC? And, let's find it. Bear with me a second. Yeah, so FC is a very, so to give you an idea, FC is a very good Ubers player and likes Gen 4, but is also, you know, more of a newer Gen player, and sometimes when you play those newer gens, you don't know how the mechanics work exactly. Like, I've seen a lot of people in this tournament, or just adjacent to the tournament, rather, just going, why don't Dio Speed use Magic Coat to bounce back hazards and taunt? Well, because Magic Coat doesn't do that in this gen. So let me just see if this is the... Yes, this is it. Okay. So we're not going to analyze this game at all. I just thought of it because it's a funny end. So a bunch of stuff happens, and oh yeah, this is the game with Empoleon. That was really cool. So I'd really like to see Finch try that. I do think it has potential. I hope someone else brings it because that typing is just so good, and it can definitely cause a big threat. And it's Shuka, which is, you know, very good. So, yeah, but it just barely comes up short. So, that Dialga was preserved. Oh, yeah, here's why. So, here comes Shaman Sky. Shaman Sky, good Scarfer, and it uses Healing Wish. So, normally, if you could Healing Wish to Dialga in Gen 5 and later, then you could Healing Wish to Dialga, no problem. It would not get hit by the attack. But... and you could also Healing Wish to a Pokemon at 1%, even if there were max hazards, because it would get the Healing Wish before the hazards. In Generation 4, the incoming Pokemon takes the attack, and it takes hazards before Healing Wish. And, so those two occurrences are usually not at the same time, but here you get both, because Shaman Healing Wishes, and the Dialga comes in and dies to hazards, which is hilarious. And now Rayquaza comes in, and the turn's still not over, so it gets hit by the Draco. So 3 Pokemon on FC's side die on the same turn, and that was really funny to see. So, kids these days don't even know how Healing Wish used to work. I remember when I was like 12 and I saw a Wi-Fi battle where someone tried to Healing Wish their Aerodactyl and got KO'd by rocks. That was like, so foolish. Anyway. So, that was really funny. That was a highlight. The highlights come in unexpected places sometimes. Anyway, here we have a favorite matchup of mine, simply because it's Manafee versus Jirachi, which is, you know, very, if you're familiar with your Pokemon lore, which I assume most of us are, then you know how amusing that is. Anyway, so both are creative players, and some fun stuff is sure to happen. So, Tentacruel, Ray, T-Spikes, not fearing, well, Tena runs Icy Wind over Ice Beam all the time now, so it doesn't even KO non-Sash Ray. And a lot of Ray Sash anyway. And this Ray is unique in that it runs EQ, and that's rare as a lead, because most of them run Draco, Fire, E-Speed, and then either Brick Break or Outrage, but rarely EQ. So already good adaptation on Jirachi's end to hit Rain Jirachi, well not Rain Jirachi, -2, you hit Jirachi at -2. So when you Draco and then you can't hit it with Fire Blast hard anymore, you still have EQ for it. So that's a very smart adaptation. You make sure Heatran can't take a Brick Break, and you destroy Tentacruel. So nice start already. So in comes a Chomp, and the Ray is going to stay in because it does Sash, and it outrages. Oh, and the Chomp is having. So now I'm just thinking this is a lead DD Ray. Like I think Jirachi used in the first round against Ray Scarface. I think he led off with a DD Ray. So the Chomp is Habin, and if it was I think Mix Ray with EQ still definitely has merit, especially because it hits Dialga really hard once you -2 as well. So worth trying for an enterprising trainer listening. But yes, I think this is just another DD Ray. So whereas Chomp would have been, if it survived the Draco meter with Habit, it definitely would have been East speed range. But now the Ray is locked in that Outrage, and Chomp finishes it off. But Ray costs him Havoc. So here comes Jirachi threatening a Scarf Ice Punch, and Jirachi just U-turns. Jirachi sends in Jirachi, and in comes Deoxys Defense. So DOD is generally used as a bulky spiking wall, and it's not really very good at that because it doesn't have it's neutral to all the powerful attacks in this tier, and it's just not bulky enough because that low HP stat, so it generally does not get the job done too well, especially with the attacks are so strong and they're either dragon or boosted by weather or boosted by soul dew, or it's generally pretty brutal. But this one has Lumberry as it eats up the T-Spike, so it feels like we're in for something different. And what is it? In comes Latios, and it just gets up rocks. So this looks like if you ever played Gen 5 OU or Gen 6 early on, then DOD used to be used as like the DOS of the tier when DOS was no longer around in Gen 5. Rocks, spikes, taunt, and then whatever filler move. So what we're seeing here is basically that, but not in the lead slot. And I asked Jirachi after, he's like, where's this coming from? He's like, oh yeah, well, you know, that non-lead DOS, well, what if it was just DOD instead? It's much bulkier, so it might be more suited to the role. And it looks pretty cool because now it can get up, whereas DOS, I mean, I guess DOS could theoretically survive 2 turns against this Latios if it had knockoff, but that's a valuable move slot. Whereas DOD can take a hit and spike and then switch out, or maybe even stay in. Oh, T-Wave and spike. So this DOD is putting in a lot of work, as even Draco wasn't gonna KO it there. And in comes Groudon and the DOD, which if it is the offensive set we assume, then it's gonna be fast, and fast DOD hits 306 speed. So unless this is max speed Groudon, which is very rare and very unlikely when it looks like this team's Stealth Rocker, then it's going to be taunted and rocks are not going to go up. So, and DOD is going to get a layer of spikes, and because it's so bulky, another thing that it does that DOS couldn't have, it lives the EQ, and it's going to get max hazards. So I think the surprise factor definitely helped out, but it's just a fundamentally solid Pokemon, and this is one of my favorite innovations of the tournament so far. And now the Latios is poisoned, and Kyogre is in. So yikes. Surf doesn't do a lot, but full health Jirachi to switch in. Oh, and the Latios roosts, but I mean U-turn, Iron Head, and there's Iron Head, and Latios tries to roost on the U-turn to not lose more momentum, but now that Jirachi did go for Iron Head, then Latios is unable to switch into Kyogre anymore. So that means that Latios is forced to stay in and try to get the roost off just to try and salvage, but nothing doing. And in comes Skarm, but nothing doing here. Skarm can't even Whirlwind Kyogre. It's not like Spikes, because T-Spikes won't take place until the end of the turn, so if Kyogre gets Whirlwinded out, nothing doing. In comes Latios. Manafee sacks his own Latios. Thunder drops. In comes Dialga. The Scarf set is always a threat to clean, but Jirachi's at full health, so it can take whatever, and even with Spikes. And even because it's raining right now, then even a Fire Blast isn't too much of a threat. There's Draco, and it goes first. So I assume it's Adamant Scarf Jirachi and Timid Scarf Dialga? I assume. That's pretty cool. Or just like a very bulky Scarf Jirachi. Oh, yeah, I think Jirachi said that the Jirachi was always living in his series against Ray because it was bulky or something. So it's very possible that it's one of those old bulky Scarf Jirachis, another relic from Gen 5 OU, Gen 5 Black and White 1 OU specifically, where the Jirachis didn't need to run max speed, so they ran a ton of bulk, and that's really helpful, in fact. So when you're trying to switch into Draco Meteors on an offensive team. So slow U-turn actually helps, and now Kyogre comes in and shows lefties and takes out the Garchomp sack. So that's very cool to see such a slow Scarf Jirachi because it gets you a lot of bulk. So in comes the Darkrai to get sacrificed, as Dialga does show itself to indeed be Scarfed. And in comes Latios, which can live one Dragon Pulse from full, and it finishes the Dialga off. And yeah, now in comes Groudon, Dragon Pulse, and Draco Meteor. Beautiful combination on Latios. And so you have the reliability and the nuke option. So down goes down goes the Groudon, and comes Skarmory and Manafee forfeit. So that's game 1. Here comes game 2. Cloyster lead, Tentacruel lead. Tentacruel is generally pretty good against Cloyster lead, and with Hydro doing a lot, then it's going to get one layer before getting before having to switch out to Giratina, and this shows itself as regular Giratina, not Giratina Origin. Or I guess if Giratina Origin is the original one, then, you know, altered. But, you know, this one existed, to our knowledge, before Origin. So yeah, this is a classic story we've seen many times before, of the Sub-Protect Giratina trying to go for game right away, and then Dialga just roaring it, and against this is not a T-Spike heavy team, but just like when you lack the options to really hurt bulky Dialga, then that's really, that's a death sentence. So when it starts roaring you around, and now this thing's getting toxic, or it's been poisoned by the T-Spike, so yeah. I think if people, I think Sub-Protect Giratina, and Ludicolo gets poisoned, yikes. So I think these teams generally, I think they're solid, the Sub-Protect Giratina stuff, but there needs to be some sort of adaptation to deal with Dialga more reliably. Maybe a knockoff somewhere. Anyway, so, you know, Dialga's just kind of hanging out and Dragon Pulsing stuff and roaring and dragging in Cloyster, and down it goes. So at least it gets another layer of spikes. And now that the Giratina is poisoned, Tentacruel might even be able to get a spin-off. So, in fact, here comes the Tentacruel, and it's probably Clear Body, not Liquid Ooze, but it would be funny if it was Liquid Ooze and Ludicolo started losing health. So Tentacruel even helps itself out, Icy Winding on the switch, and continues to Icy Wind because Dragon Pulse is not going to do much from Giratina Altered rather, and yeah, so there it is, and there's the second Icy Wind, and Tentacruel takes out Giratina. So I'm sure the spin is not really that essential though, and Jirachi lets it go because he's got a big Pokemon advantage. And in comes Kyogre with Ludicolo poisoned, so not going to be a very reliable answer to it. And Ludicolo's going to get a Leech Seed off now, but Kyogre also slams it with Thunder, so it's really fighting. Ludicolo's fighting an uphill battle, and it was at the bottom of the hill to begin with, so to speak. So in comes Dialga, Ludicolo. Manafee makes a good move and tries to bring it back by, you know, a second Leech Seed, but this is still going to be very difficult because Dialga can just roar it out, and it's going to be forced to stay at its you know, mediocre HP. So he chunks it with Ice Beam at least, but in comes Kyogre, and that's also getting T-spiked. So this is pretty brutal. This is not the kind of matchup you want to, not the kind of team you want to run into Tentacruel with. So nice double to Garchomp. Well, even the double to Garchomp hurts because it's taking T-spike damage, and Jirachi shows to have Protect Kyogre, and with Surf and Thunder, I think it's 3 attacks Protect, and that's really cool. And he double protects, in fact. And Ludicolo doubles in, trying to get some damage, but nicely done. And now, yeah, he was looking to get Ludicolo in on, you know, something. He didn't want to just haplessly EQ, but, I mean, at this point, he's really grasping at straws. And, yeah, so Kyogre's going to come out on top in the... Oh, or actually he goes to Lucario instead of Dialga this time, as Ludicolo protects. And there are no CC switch-ins, so even if you Leech Seeded and protected there, then you were still going to be losing something after. And Luke CCs, and in comes Kingdra. That's really cool. T-Spikes and Lucario and Kingdra. It's like a... well, I really like seeing that. Kingdra Dragon Pulses with Life Orb as Kyogre rests. And here comes the Draco, doing a little over half, so if it's Outrage, then, which would be cool, but he's trying to KO himself with Life Orb. Oh, it is Outrage. Three Dragon moves. I love that. It's for every situation. I mean, that's how you do it. So by KOing himself with Life Orb, then he would have gotten Luke in safely to keep CCing stuff. But Manafee forfeits. And that's the series, so that was really cool. I wish Manafee had brought a Manafee against Jirachi, because, I mean, in the first game, Jirachi did bring a Jirachi. So, yeah, moving on. Here's a heavyweight series, Gary Oak versus Hack. This one was really anticipatory for me, personally, and for everyone else as well. So, Gary is a great Ubers player across many generations. He's really already establishing himself as a strong DPP player, and Hack is also one of the great multi-generational Ubers players and has been excellent in DPP as well. So Tina O against T-Tar. This one's pretty interesting because Tina O can generally beat T-Tar one-on-one, but it's also not an ideal matchup. And he does have EQ. That T-Tar is bulky, and it paybacks and KOs. So what we saw there was a choice band T-Tar lead, and I really like that. Because when you use a CB T-Tar, then you ensure that even a Colbert Deoxys is not going to live your attack and is going to be limited to that one turn. So that's a really cool adaptation. And by running Choice Band T-Tar lead, you can easily run a Rock move, and you can dominate lead Ho-Oh. And hell, I'm sure it's even bulky enough to survive Kyogre, so you can set up the Sand and get your Spit F boost and live Kyogre, and then CB payback it plus Sand damage on the first turn, and that can be big. So great innovation from Hack. I'd love to see it, and it also obviously lets you beat Tina O lead. So that's really, really beautifully done. Great start already, loving it. So now in comes Gary's T-Tar, gets up the rocks and the payback locks CB Tar. In comes Hack's Kyogre, in comes Latias to deal with it. In comes Hack's Bronzong to switch to the Latias counter, or to the Kyogre counter, and it Grass Knots instead of Thunders, so that's more helpful. As Latias roosts, Zong gets up rocks, and a Toxic flails against Skarmory. So back to T-Tar, preserving Kyogre's health in case it gets whirlwinded, and Gary's just trying to get up as much hazard pressure to make up for his lost Pokemon at the start. I mean, it's not like it did nothing. Chunking T-Tar is helpful, but generally the hazard pressure is going to be long-term. You know, when you attack, then that's something you choose to do to deal damage. But when you have the passive damage going for you, then whenever your opponent switches, then you're doing damage just through that. So that's one of the best ways to mount a comeback. So smart. Now in comes Garchomp on the CB Stone Edge, which 40% for a resisted move is a lot of damage. So in comes... So that was a good move to not risk Skarmory, because with the Bronzong around, then it's not going to do anything. If it's a Scarf Chomp, which is likely as the speed option, you got T-Tar Rocks, Scarm Spikes, and then Tina O and Latias, and then you've got your filler kind of poke here. Like the poke you can start getting experimental of sorts with. Dialga here would be a great choice, for example. And yeah, I have a lot of options. But yeah, with the Scarf Chomp against Zong, then nothing. So, Gary makes a great move by EQing again, simply because Zong invites Skarm in so hard, and Hack doesn't want to get spiked on or whirlwinded more. So it was very likely that he would make a double switch there. And Gary's EQ there was really smart, not just because he knew how likely Hack was to not want Skarm to come in, but because even if he stays in and Zong, worst thing that it does is Toxic, and the Chomp is not really that valuable. So even if it gets Toxic or Gyro Ball, then, who cares? That's fine. So this was, I would really advise, newer players who are, to really study that turn in particular, from Gary, because that was a really, really, really smartly done, a really smart play for the reasons just listed. and I will not repeat myself more because I know I have a bad habit of doing that. So, Hack just goes for the Toxic. Nicely done, and he reads that beautifully. That was a perfect assessment of the situation by Hack. I mean, if Skarm comes in, I mean, he knows his team better than we do at this point. But, you know, a second layer of Spikes or a Whirlwind isn't going to kill him, and he's still posing a massive offensive threat. So, T-Tar's not going to be able to pursue Latias, which is not great. And so the Latias Skarm combination can be annoying, but that's what his other 3 Pokemon are for. It's not like this trio is the engine that is supposed to take on entire teams. So he knew that Gary's a good player and would probably like keep something like that in mind. On the other hand, you could say that Skarm switching in was pretty riskless because it's not like Hack has revealed anything that could be a threat. So even if he doubles to Kyogre and gets some chip damage, then, I mean, just go to Latias, as is already the plan. But it could have... So I do like it because the potential upside of EQing again there was enormous. Absolutely, absolutely huge. So, yeah, great move. Great move. On both sides. And now in comes Skarm, and Hack just goes for EQ. And if he had another, I assume that he's going to have another EQ immunity, and if it's something like Latios or Tina-O, then he could have gone to that and covered both the double EQ and the, what's it called, the double to Skarm, or the switch to Skarm, rather. But maybe he didn't want to risk the Chomp being SD instead of Scarf. So that's also very valid. Covered all scenarios. So... yeah, really nicely done by these guys already. And there's the Whirlwind on the Kyogre, and this is dangerous territory as Zong comes back in, and Hack goes right to Kyogre, now down to half as Gary goes for the second layer. I think Whirlwind is, I mean, second layer is also fine because more pressure and such, but Whirlwinding again, you can drag in something else. You can drag in T-Tar and, you know, force it to get KO'd, and you can get more information, which I think is valuable because Hack has revealed only 3 of his team. But spiking again there, totally fine. So, and there's the T-Wave. So now Latias, well, the Kyogre is not leftovers, so that's also very valuable knowledge. And let me put the music back on. Yes. Yeah, so the Latias being T-Wave is pretty big, but so is the Kyogre. Now Kyogre only has 1 more switch in with hazards. That's also pretty huge. So, yeah, that was tough. So, in comes Latias, Grass Knots, takes out the Tar. Now, what else is Hack going to reveal? His own Chomp. And if it's Scarf, then, you know, again, walled by Scarf. But no, it's SD. And Latias stays and goes for Grass Knot. Now, that is... I assume if Gary's last can deal with Kyogre decently, especially because it only has 1 more switch in. And I guess, like, worst case, he can sack and scare it out with Chomp, and then, you know, no harm, no foul. But I thought that was interesting. I also thought it was interesting that he... I guess... No, I was really surprised that he stayed in and that he used Grass Knot. Because if you're expecting Chomp to stay in an SD and you don't want your Skarmory to get Fire Fanged, then you would Draco, or Dragon Pulse or Draco Meteor. But, and Grass Knot would be more if you have Draco Meteor but you don't want to spam it against a Chomp that might start using Sub. But if you think it's Sub, then Skarm is going to counter it really hard anyway. So Grass Knot felt like a very weird middle ground that was not really, not really as rewarding as it should be. So I think staying was definitely fine because Hack needs to start coming back and he needs to, power through the Skarm. But I don't know if the Grass Knot was quite it. Now the Skarm comes into the +2 Dragon Claw, and to make it even the stay-in even more puzzling, then the Chomp is on a team with T-Tar and Kyogre, meaning that if with Kyogre being such a prominent piece of the team, it's not even likely that the Chomp has a Sub or Fire Fang. Aqua Tail, if anything, that's seen some use, but probably not Fire Fang. And if you're willing to switch into it at +2, then +0 would have been much better. The only thing I can think of is that maybe Gary expected a double back to Kyogre on the obvious Skarm, and he was trying to catch that, and he didn't want to miss Draco on it or something. But I don't know. yeah, I don't know. I feel like Dragon Move is, I guess Grass Knot was a little safer, but anyway, so Skarm switches into the +2, and Skarm does eat an Aqua Tail, and he roosts, so I assume he was just trying to catch another double switch, which at least makes sense. And then the Aqua Tail misses. Oh, but he was probably going to roost up to full anyway. And it's tough to SD again in such a situation. And he gets countered, so that's very innovative on Gary's end. You don't see that a lot, or actually you don't see that ever. So that was quite cool. And now here comes Palkia, and that's another threat. So with especially with Latias paralyzed, I mean, he probably has the tools to play around it. T-Tar might be able to take a hit, but with only rocks, then who knows? And in comes Clefable. Awesome. I was waiting for Clef to show up in this tour. So yeah, Clef does not care about hazards and is surprisingly adept at withstanding more special attacks than you'd think. And that Surf does not look Lustrous Orb, and the fact it's Surf makes it even less likely, because if you're Lustrous Orbing, you're probably Hydroing. So Clef switches out of the Zong, and now Bronzong blows... Sorry. Clef switches out of the Zong. Zong blows up Scar, and Crit helps KO. Probably would have been finished off by whatever. It would have been put in range for like rocks and every other attack, so it would have been KO'd anyway. But the double down, the Crit does ensure it's a double down. We also don't know. I think it probably wouldn't have KO'd, but we don't know EVs on Zong. Might have had some attack invest that has been used before to help push Boom over the edge on things like Groudon. Anyway, so yeah, Clef is actually looking like kind of a pain, because the Palkia doesn't look quite strong enough. And the bigger threat is now Gary correctly goes to the Scarf Chomp, because with Zong down, then Scarf Chomp is probably a major threat, because Zong holds so much together. He goes for EQ, smart move, not locking into Outrage just yet, and now it's Latios, so Chomp is going to clean up. As T-Tar comes in, doesn't even matter if it gets KO'd, because Chomp is going to Outrage, so... Bronzong, I guess he wanted to take out the Clef, but as soon as he gave up the Zong, then he was going to get swept by Chomp anyway, so I don't know if that was the wisest move. I mean, you could say it was an uphill battle against Skarm and Latias at this point anyway, but I think giving up Zong was somewhat akin to just, admitting defeat. I mean, because Palkia was, even if it's Habin, then it's not going to be healthy enough, so... Gary even EQs just to, well, that one didn't really matter, because, but, yeah, I think blowing up Zong, probably not the best move, but it was an uphill battle at that point anyway, so, and Clef was going to be massively annoying with the weakened team, so very cool to see it, and, yeah, now we will continue into Game 2. So, Kyogre lead, Darkrai, you don't want to Dark Void into a Lum Kyogre, oh, come on, don't lag. Alright, let's start over. Kyogre, Darkrai, and comes Latios, and Water Spout does a pretty nice chunk, but it's not Specs. So Gary doubles to Darkrai on the Latios switch-in, which is going to be something that can take Draco, so smart. Most of those are slow, bulky, and it's Song, and Hack sacrifices Magnezone to the Dark Void. In comes Groudon, not going to, yep, so Bronzong and Bronzong. Okay, so that was interesting, because... Gary doubled to Groudon. I think the switch to Zong from Hack was very telegraphed, because Zong is going to be the best thing you're likely going to have against a Darkrai, especially at full health when Sleep Clause is active. And but actually no, that was a good move, because Bronzong is now going to be scared of the Fire move in Sun, so he's going to switch out to Kyogre. But Gary capitalizes on that by going to his own Zong, which is not... I guess he was more trying to get up a rock. He wanted to get up Sun and then get up Rocks as Hack got up Rocks, but it's likelier that Kyogre comes in to avoid the Fire move. And now you have Zong on Kyogre, but at least that meant Hack doesn't have Rocks yet either. And the problem is that Water Spout is now going to go off, and Latios, I mean, it's going to live, but it's going to do a lot of damage. And yeah, no rocks or anything yet. So Water Spout, and it just barely lives, and Bronzong gives up, and Gary gives up rocks to boom the Kyogre. So that was really big. So just barely surviving. Zong really stretching that max SpDef investment to its fullest. And yeah, so double down, and that's going to be no rocks for Gary. But it's 5-5, and he slept a Magnezone, so that's also valuable. And Now in comes Latios, and Darkrai is going to trick it. So its Scarf removes the Soul Dew. Having a Scarf Latios is not a huge deal in Ubers. Or facing one, rather. Those, uninvested, non-Soul Dew Draco Meteors, not really a threat. So it lives the Draco pretty nicely. And, yeah, so now Latios' Scarf, not going to be doing anything. And Gary goes to Groudon, great move to the very obvious Zong switch. So now he can threaten it with fire, but no, he just goes back to Darkrai, and Zong gets up rocks because Hack, can't really switch around when his Latios is Soul Dew, and he's got to start making some leeway backwards or back. I think Hack could have maybe gone to his own Zong on. Now that I think about it, when he had Kyogre against Zong, then he could have gone to his own Zong, and because if Gary goes to Latios, that's free rocks for him. And if Gary stays in and goes for rocks, that's also fine. And he also could have... And he would have absorbed that explosion for, nothing. We don't know the EVs... Or we don't know what the role is with Water Spout. I assume he went for it because he had a good shot at living, and he didn't expect Gary to give up his Zong there. If he stayed in, probably rocks over Boom. But, yeah, so Gary was really afraid of that Kyogre. But, this is hindsight. So Darkrai comes in, so that Groudon really must not be able to hurt that Zong, because that was a clear shot at Fire Blasting, or Fire Moving it. And it's not like Darkrai was a good double against the Scarf Latios. So, I think he's just trying to trick the Bronzong here, and Hack makes a great move. Or burn it. That's good, too. That would have been better if he had Soul Dew, or if he had removed the Zong's lefties and given it Soul Dew, so that would have been nice for Latios, especially because Latios might pack HP Fire, and Hack can no longer replace the Sun with Rain. But Will-O-Wisp was also really cool, and hits Latios, so Hack makes a great move by going to Latios on Darkrai. Isn't Pokemon beautiful sometimes? And launches a Draco Meteor, which, without Zong, Gary does not look like he can absorb very well. So Scarf Latios might actually be a threat. Now in comes Chomp in Sun, and with Haben at -2, then it's going to do nothing. And but Hack makes a great move staying in there, because he has to break the Haben. He can't just SD and get Bronzong, give Bronzong a Fire Fang. Or get Bronzong... If he goes to Bronzong, +2, Fire Fang and Sun's going to destroy it, and then Latios with Scarf is not going to KO the Haben Chomp from full. So he had to break the Haben. Now he can sack Magnezone, especially because Darkrai's down, and has nothing else to put to sleep. And, yeah, so that was a great move, and Gary made the right move also by SDing on the Chomp. I mean, I guess if he was trying to read it, then he could have SD'd, or he could have just Dragon Clawed, but yeah, that was also a good move because if he knocks the Chomp into Salic or something, because first of all, it's less likely, because we're not seeing a Magnezone here, it's not likely going to fit. And, or like any real... There's no way he's going to have sub-SD Chomp on a team with a Groudon that also can't hurt Zong or Scarm. So, the Chomp has to be able to KO it. And even if it was sub-SD, then, Zong can take it from full. So, that was a great move by Hack. And he goes to his Chomp, which is, an actual Scarfer. Not his intended one, anyway. And he Dragon Claws, and down it goes. So, in comes the Groudon, and Hack is... decided, look, I guess this Zong walls the Groudon. I mean, it might be... Nope. Or, actually, we don't know if it's Double Dance because it doesn't use SD on that turn. And in comes Dialga. So, Gyro Ball is going to hurt a lot if the Groudon chooses to Rock Polish. So, Dialga chases out Zong with the threat of a Sunny Fire Blast, and Hack decides to go to Latios. I mean, basically just sacking it because he's got his own Scarf Dragon, which is looking pretty nice without any resist right now. I mean, the Zong, this is just like the last game, except in reverse, with Gary booming the Zong and now the Chomp really threatening. At least Gary has backup in Groudon, though. A lefty's Groudon at that. So yeah, Hack is fine with sacking this Latios, and if he pivots into a Sunny Fire Blast, that's great. As it looks like Dialga's going to be Gary's Scarfer. But if he can get some use out of the Scarf Latios, fine. And it really looks like this unintentional Scarf Latios is putting in a ton of work. And that's really funny, as Gary now goes to his, Groudon, which does not have a lot of SpDef investment, as it takes a pretty nasty chunk from that, and that Stone Edge crit, so it does a lot, actually. but still looks like Zong is going to be able to take it one-on-one, and he EQs just hoping that it's heat-proof or something silly. But, yeah, down, or that he was going to double the chomp or something, but Hack can just play it super safe. There's no downside to Gyro Ball. I mean, I guess maybe if you're afraid Dialga's going to switch in and pressure stall it somehow, but I don't think so. So, in comes Latios, and at this point, Chomp is just going to win. But once again, he pivots Latios into the Sunny HP Fire, and he gets another Draco off. So this Scarf Latios just put in a ton of work unintentionally. So, that was really cool to see. And now the Chomp is going to finish off the Dialga. So 1-1 in the series. We're going to Game 3. Alright, the decider. Dio Speed, Dio Speed. Well, that figures. Dio Speed is the most popular lead in this tournament. There's the Trick Scarf, and Hack goes for Shadow Ball and does nothing. So that's a rough start. Now Gary's definitely off to the lead as he gets up 2 layers of spikes quickly. But Hack makes a great move in Calm Minds, and I really, really like that play because when you're falling behind in the early Hazard War, you got to make it up in a big way. And if it was just gonna, the Tina O was just gonna attack, then it'd be 5 or 6-5, but lots of hazards or more hazards. But with Calm Mind, then you make yourself so much more difficult to deal with. Like Draco Meteor is not gonna take it out now, and you get another KO most likely, and that's a huge, huge way of making up the lost ground of the first turn. So great stuff from Hack. So in comes Latios. And Hack chooses to switch to Dio Speed, and it dies to a Draco Meteor. I'm not really on board with that play at all. I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose of Calm Minding there. As, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really a fan of that at all. Here comes Heatran. Now, that looks like it's going to be a pain. Because if you stay in and you Dragon Pulse and assume it has Shadow Sneak, even if Latios lived it, then and it would have taken a ton of damage nonetheless, then it just it'd be much better to just keep getting the damage, and then you have your Dio Speed. At least sack it for a hazard or something. He's got Aura Sphere, so he's at least not going to be blanked by this Heatran, so that's helpful. I've seen a lot of Aura Sphere and Earth Power Dialgas actually. Earth Power is really helpful. Similarly hits Dialga while also slamming Heatran. So in comes Groudon, which is not an ideal special Dialga check, and takes actually a pretty nice chunk from that neutral Aura Sphere, so not Spadef Groudon, that's for sure. Even a specially offensive Dialga wouldn't have done that much to a Spadef Groudon. So, possible that, but it is also going to be faster, so possible it's some sort of offensive set with the rocking Dialga, and yes, that Dialga is going to survive the Groudon EQ just barely, because Dialga's a beast, and it Draco Meteors it back. So that's pretty brutal, and now, I mean, just imagine if that Latios was down. I mean, Tina O is at least still at full health, but yikes. So now Gary's likely got a Tina O in the back, so trying to finish things off with this Lucario is not likely. Or Lugia, I mean, that's also possible. So there's a CC, which bounces off and does nothing. And now Lugia is in a good position against an offensive team, especially if it has... But there's Darkrai, the equalizer. And it gets Weather Balled, so that's really cool to see. Weather Ball Lugia is really nice. I mean, talk about turning the tables on something like a Fortress, because this team does not have a Giratina O. So if you, I assume that everything here can threaten Fori in some way, especially under Sun. Well, I mean, under Sun ideally. So that way you make up for the lack of spin blocking. And Weather Ball Lugia is a perfect lure and does a lot to Darkrai. And the Dark Void's going to go off, and even if it's Sleep Talk Scarf Dialga, that's still sleeping it is good because bad dreams and such. But he misses the Void on the Heatran, so that's unfortunate. And the second one hits, so as long as he hits his Focus Blast, he's fine. And even though he took damage on the way in, as he probably was not expecting to do, then the Darkrai is still really threatening. As, Dark Pulse hits Latios hard. It's not going to KO, I mean, even if it's Life Orb. But it hits Latios hard, slams Lugia, obviously, and Dialga doesn't want to switch into this Focus Blast here, so he might just sack the Heatran. Yeah, he's going to sack the Heatran. It is Life Orb Rai, so, I mean, it wasn't switching into Hazards again after taking that Weather Ball, so that was huge. That was a turning point. Now, and it has Sucker Punch, too, so it chips the Dialga as it locks into Dragon Pulse. In comes Luke again. I mean, Lugia is not going to want to... I mean, it's going to switch in because Scarf Dialga is a good SD Luke check anyway. But it's probably going to be faster in Weather Ball, and E-Speed's not going to take it out because Lugia is bulky as Weather Ball Lugia, the Lucario check. Love to see it. In comes Tina O. It's going to Shadow Sneak, and now it's just a matter of can he withstand the Scarf Dialga. Or, I mean, the Latias. So, I mean, it does have Shadow Sneak, and it is Calm Mind Shadow Sneak, and... I mean, I don't know if it's, like, so... If he was afraid of Draco, but... I don't know, I feel like the point of Calm Mind Giratina is to not run away from Dracos. I mean, if you're going to switch out of the Latias follow-up, then... Yeah. And the last is Ray, so... It's going to be a Scarf Ray Quasar. That's really cool. So Scarf Ray outspeeds Latias, and it outspeeds Dialga too, but it's not going to be enough. Unless a crit, and Dialga lives with 5%, and that's a series. So that was a thriller. That really was. That was really tight. So I think Heck made a mistake early on, but hey, it was either way, it was a great series. A lot of cool stuff on display. Yeah, so now we go on to our second to last series. We have Highlord versus Donkey, and this one is a really anticipated series. Highlord is one of the most prominent DPP Ubers players. Donkey is a great Gen 5 and 6 Ubers player who has really shown affinity for Gen 4 as well. So Highlord is one of the favorites to win this tournament. He's been a big figure in DPP Ubers the last several years. He's really come up with a lot of stuff that's helped push the tier forward. So this is really a matchup of titans. So, Tentacruel, T-Tar, T-Spikes, Hydro, Rocks, Paybacks. Hey, Donkey has the same idea as Hack. He choice banned Paybacks. You don't even need EQ for it, and you drop Tentacruel. And even if it's a Sash Tentacruel, then you Sand finishes it off. So in comes Kyogre to follow it up. In comes Palkia, gets T-Spiked, no Lum, but the T-Spikes do prevent it from getting T-Waved. So in comes Quillfish to pick up those T-Spikes on a nice double switch as Zong comes in. And Donkey has taunt Quillfish and prevents Rocks. So people have been experimenting with a lot of Quillfish moves in this tournament, and I'm really happy to see that. Taunt, I mean, perfect example. Not quite going to 2-KO the Zong there, and in comes Groudon and makes the Waterfall do approximately Zilch. And now, I don't know why he... I mean, I guess I don't know. It feels like preserving Groudon is more valuable than preserving a 60% Zong. I mean, I know you gotta take Dragon moves and such, but the explosion was so obvious there, and I feel like you would rather take it with Zong than... I don't know. This felt like more damage spread across 2 pokes than a lot of damage spread across 1. So, here comes Dialga on T-Tar. Not gonna... And great move. Latias switching into T-Tar because he knows the Choice Band fight move is coming. It's low kick, not superpower. And Latios fires off a Draco, and Donkey has his own Zong. That Zong is really taking off in usage in this tournament. So, T-Tar comes back as... I was surprised, because I thought Kyogre was going to come in, or Zong. Actually, no, Zong was more likely. I think what Donkey was looking for there was to catch the Zong on the switch, because Zong is going to run a lot of Split F, and it's not going to take... Well, I guess it doesn't take Banded Paybacks. It takes Banded Paybacks decently, because it's slower, so it's not like it's firing off Banded Crunch, but... it would just be a good opportunity to slam anyway. I don't think he was looking to catch Latios on the Recover, because Recover is not guaranteed on Latios, far from it, and it's not even very likely that he would use it there. But he manages to get T-Tar in on the -2 Latios, full health, so down it goes. I don't think that was the intention, but that sure worked out. So good move, being aggressive. That was also nice because... in case Kyogre came in, actually that's a really nice move. If Kyogre comes back in, then T-Tar switches second, because Zong switches second because it's slower, and Rain would have gone up, and then T-Tar would have immediately cut off the Rain and put Sand back up. So he would have chipped Kyogre and seen if it had leftovers, and so it would be getting chipped and not just freely firing off attacks as Palkia struggled to keep up with it. So, really, really great move. It covered Kyogre to some extent. He could stay in, maybe payback it. It covered a Zong switch, and I mean, I don't think he was looking for the Latios, but I mean, hey. Actually, it's also a good example of the principle of this T-Tar messes his team up, get it in as much as possible. Because I don't think Dialga was switching in there, but it matches. T-Tar one-on-one matches up well against everything on Highlord's team now that Groudon is down. Another reason to preserve Groudon, I think. To have preserved Groudon, rather. And, I mean, Dialga ran from T-Tar last time, so it clearly doesn't have Aura Sphere. And T-Tar was at full health, so the only reason T-Tar switched out to begin with was because it locked into low kick. So it was just a matter of, hey, I need to pivot out to Zong for a quick sec, and now I'm getting T-Tar back in because it matches up well against everything. So great move on every level. And it worked out as Banded Pursuit takes Latios out. Now in comes Kyogre, getting a free Calm Mind. I mean, at least T-Tar got a KO for his trouble, but Palkia is now going to Thunder. And Ice Beam crits, that would not have taken out even Poison, and Second Thunder would have been really valuable. But now in comes Donkey's own Kyogre, and it Calm Minds itself. So there's a Thunder from Highlord, and another Calm Mind. And yikes, if this is Scarf Dialga, it's not gonna beat this Kyogre. Uh-oh, well. He goes for the third Calm Mind, and now he rests. Yeah, so, well, I mean, Highlord also is going to have a good amount of chances to crit, but with Sleep Talk, then the odds go down a little bit, as Sleep Talk Surf does not KO, and rest, and now he's going to just KO it with Surf, and it looks like a Kroger sweep. So that's going to be game one, you know, barring a... Nah, okay, it doesn't even have a Thunder as T-Wave, so that's going to be this game, and both pumps miss for good measure. So, that's game one. Donkey leads 1-0. Great start. Riveting. Firecracker. Rocket. Highlord. Kyogre. Donkey. T-Tar. Another, Hydro miss. That sucks. And a Banded Payback. So I guess he is staying in on Kyogre lead. So that Banded Payback does a lot. Kyogre does not have lefties, and who knows if the Hydro would have KO'd, but Donkey goes to Palkia this time. And Highlord does not... Makes a good move, actually. That was a great move, because he said, look, that first turn... he's probably going to want to preserve T-Tar now, so rather than just Hydroing into a Lottie or Palkia or something, then I'm just going to T-Wave, and he grabs, he manages to get the T-Wave on the Palkia, so that's really nicely done. So, now, Palk full pairs as Zong comes in, and rocks go up, and Hydro does a lot of damage, so that feels boosted in some capacity. So now, Highlord goes to Dialga against this paralyzed Hydroing Palkia. Jesus! Okay, Specs Palk. that's really something. Yeah, that crit does a lot. So, yeah, now Dialga doesn't have the free switch it thought it did, but he Dracos, and down goes the Specs Palkia. In comes the Banded T-Tar again? No, in comes Donkey's own Zong for rocks. And in comes Kyogre's, Highlord again with Kyogre, trying to get another Hydro off before it goes down. But Donkey makes a great move and EQs the Kyogre, trying to sneak in before rocks go up. So really nicely done. And now, but Highlord says, alright, well, you didn't get up rocks then, you're not getting them now, because Dark Void. And Darkrai shows its ability to wrest momentum and control over games. And he makes a great double to Palkia. You know, Palkia is so nasty when it's an offensive weapon rather than just a Kyogre check. So, yeah, Palkia in as a threat now, not in response, but, you know, an active switch. So in comes Palkia one-on-one against Kyogre. That's dangerous. He goes for Hydro, looking to... I don't know if that was necessary. I think... I guess he wanted to make sure that T-Tar couldn't pivot into Thunder or Spatial or Draco nicely. But, I don't know, it felt a little unnecessary. And Donkey stays in. He said, like, alright, look, I'm behind. I gotta, you know, make something happen. He might be using the same team. As Thunder does not do a lot. That would have done not very much even without the boost. So this is a very bulky Kyogre. It feels like it definitely has some special defense EVs. So it's just Calm Minding, and in comes Tina O on the rest. And yeah, so if it's going to be spit up, then it's not going to be bold like most Kroger are, or at least have that much defense. And the attack invested Griseosaur boosted Outrage is going to 2-hit KO Kyogre cleanly. Does a lot of damage as Sleep Talk rolls Surf, and it was boosted and did a lot. But not quite enough. So Second outrage goes off, does a 33 to Zong, which is quite a bit. And now Highlord goes back to Palkia on the sleeping Zong, trying to get in Palk again for threat, which is, you know, hey, that's good. And now Donkey doubles back to T-Tar, which is a great move because, again, T-Tar threatens everything, getting in as much as possible while healthy at that, knowing that this would be a prime opportunity that the T-Tar would come in while healthy. Great move, great move. On both sides. And he goes for Hydro, and he crits, so that's, I guess he got something back for his Dialga, which would have been able to take a payback otherwise. Yeah, so in comes Mewtwo, so different team, I believe. Uh-oh, Amnesia. So this is something else players have been trying on Taunt Will-O-Wisp Mewtwo. It's Amnesia in the last slot. Taunt Will-O-Wisp Recover, and then players like Light Screen sometimes for SpDef protection. But turns out Amnesia might be a little better in that regard because it doesn't wear off, and you can boost more than just by half. So, or by +2. So, yikes. Anyway, Zong gets Will-O-Wisp and Toxic'd. Now, that was a tough move because if you taunt on Boom, then down goes Mewtwo. And if you Wisp on Toxic, and, you know, vice versa, of course. So, yeah, now the Mewtwo is basically ruined. And so, and Donkey forfeits, which was unexpected. I would prefer people didn't do that. But, hey, I guess he really didn't. He didn't want to reveal his last. Actually, no, you know what? I understand. He didn't want to reveal his last for the purpose of maybe wanting to use the team again. So, you know, hey. That's all right. So, Game 3, 1-1. Another exciting Game 3 between two top players. Kyogre, Ho-Oh, love to see it. To the two leads of Neo DPP Ubers, as I just coined that phrase. The 2021 Ubers, the 2021 lead faces of the lead metagame. Oh, it's just beautiful to see. Anyway, Kyogre stays in, and so does Ho-Oh. T-Wave, Brave Bird, so suggest Pasho perhaps, and definitely not Lum. So Brave Bird and Hydro, Pasho survives, and Brave Bird takes it out, and it's a double down as both Kyogre and Ho-Oh go down. So, you know, good idea on Highlord's end, you know, trying to catch the early Kyogre response, and Donkey just Brave Birds, so Kyogre definitely showed itself to have some speed EVs. So that's also interesting because a lot of those lead Kyogres are bulky. But hey, that was cool, and we see a double down on the second turn, not from Explosion. So that's cool. So the two leads go down together. In comes Darkrai, in comes Groudon. Darkrai has Dark Void, of course, and that's what makes it so powerful. And it hits. By the way, this is why I'm a proponent of Wide Lens Darkrai. It hits so much. It's crazy. Anyway, so Groudon goes down. In comes Latias on a Dark Pulse, and that takes nothing. So, excuse me. This looks like a very SpDef Latias, you know, maybe designed to be like an ultimate unbreakable special counter of some kind. Highlord looks for the sub on the recover to maybe then nasty plot if Latias tried to recover, or like sub was also good in case it was going to try to pull something with T-Wave, like if he goes full support with SpDef, he might have T-Wave or Toxic or something. But Latias just Dragon Pulses, plays it straight. So that is a sign that, you know, this team must not be too well equipped to deal with Darkrai. I mean, few are, but that's it's scary. So Dragon Pulse crits Wob as it takes a lot of damage. So he was looking, so he tried to get Wob in for some Encore Mirror Coat action, but that crit kind of ruins that plan. So now he shows his Dragon Resist to be Latias, which does a ton of damage. That, I mean, I'd have to run the calcs. We don't know the spreads on Dialga or Latias, but that Dragon Pulse is doing damage, so it's whew, it shows how much of a beast Soldu Latias can be. That it's taking hits so well and taking damage, and taking hits and dishing them out. So in comes Shiftry after the Draco KO. I guess he was forced to, I don't know, I think it might have been nicer to absorb the Draco with Groudon, because it's sleeping and you know, only one turn burned, and it might be nicer to just get use out of that and preserve the Latias, which clearly seems to be a massive problem for Highlord to switch into. So yeah, I think letting Groudon soak a Draco and then switching out to something on the -2 might have been better, as surely you can take a -2 Draco with something else. Yeah, I think that might have been nice, unless he plans to SD with Shiftry on the -2, in which case you better hope that that it can carry him all the way. Ho-Oh Shiftry, what a tier. These two working in harmony. I mean, Ho, sure remove... You see why it's Pasho there. You really want the Shiftry sweep. So you gotta have Sun, and to do that you gotta remove Kyogre, so Pasho Ho-Oh. Beautiful synergy, love it. So, yes, I assume he's gonna SD, and he's not just gonna be a mixed attacker. Here comes Wob. No, just low kicks right away, so yeah, I think if he's not gonna SD on the he's not gonna take advantage of the -2 by SDing, I think letting Groudon soak one definitely might have been better. So Wob is sacrificed, and taken out by Feint Attack. So here comes Ray, and Ruiner of Chlorophyll, Swift Swim stuff. So in comes Cress, so he's definitely got the... Yeah, I don't know. I think even if he's got Cress, he can definitely soak up a Scarf Dialga Draco with that. So yeah, I think letting Latias go was a waste, because look how threatening it is to his team. And, you know, this Rayquaza is yet another Pokemon outsped and O-code by it. So... yeah, I feel that was an oversight. And he goes for he goes to Groudon last. So Groudon into Cress is generally not a matchup you're looking for unless you have Toxic or something. But he gets a Brock, so that's nice at least. But it looks like he's gonna have to chase it out with Darkrai after. I mean, he can T-Wave, he can Roar maybe, but the problem of Cress remains. So in comes Dialga, and I mean, I guess it could be a Scarf T-Wave Dialga, which is cool, but Donkey reads that beautifully, and instead of Moonlighting, and he T-Waves instead, so great move. And now he goes to his own Wob, and in comes Darkrai, so I don't... This is a lot to take in. Wob is unusual on that team. I mean, Cress is unusual on that team. Ho-Oh Shifty Sun is one thing, and then you have the Cress defensive backbone, and then a Wob. So, I mean, it's certainly inventive. I definitely give it props for that. Versus, I like Highlord's brand of Wob-Rai offense. Great, great combination. It's hard to fit alongside DOS, but, with Kyogre and these other offensive, defensive big guns, it's really nice. So, really well constructed from Highlord. So, it gets Darkrai in as the double T-Wave there was seeming very unlikely. And, yeah, I don't know why I guess he wanted to avoid getting Cress T-Waved or something, but... I don't know. I don't know if that's the biggest thing to worry about. I think you got to just stay in, and yeah, because now Darkrai can just Dark Pulse and not worry about getting Mirror Coated because it's immune because Mirror Coat is a Psychic move. And yeah, now he just spams Dark Pulse and down goes Wob, and now Shiftry's gonna come in, and then Ray's gonna come in after that, and the advantage is definitely, or the game even seems to be with Highlord now. So Shiftry has its good qualities, but I don't know if the execution was there on this one. So, yeah, here comes Ray. I mean, and a great double to Darkrai to not give Cresselia any room to, really shutting the game out at this point. He just, so, really nicely done to not ease up, not have to deal with the painstaking, the obnoxious process of switching into Cress. He just fires off a pulse. Shiftry comes in, barely lives, but, one more Life Orb hit, can't switch out. So Dialga is sacrificed, and yeah, so Rai looks to have this game cleaned up. So very cool series. Really, really enjoyed this one, and even Ray has this one cleaned up. And Groudon Dark Voids or wakes up, and that makes it even more helpful because now Darkrai can Dark Void the Cress if he wants. But yeah, this is, I mean, confusion, but he just breaks through, and even if he didn't get confused, then it was pretty much game. So. Yeah. Oh, I skipped over the last turn, but it's just, Groudon also getting outraged. So, yeah, so great series, and now we are going to move on to our last of the video. 6A9 Ace Matador against Lord Thorks. So, Dio Speed, Kyogre. Will it sash? The new question of the age. It's not even going to stay in, so it's going to Palkia. And Thorks looks for the Thunder pair to ruin the DOS, and doesn't get it on the Palk. Does a good chunk, and Spatial does a big, big chunk to Dialga. So either that's a very offensive Dialga with no bulk, and like a Lustrous Palk or something, because that's still a lot of damage, or it's just a Specs Palk against a bulkier Dialga. So he's not going to want to take the second one, as Spatial does a good chunk to that Jirachi, which is Scarf, so it looks more lustrous than Specs, and U-turn, so... Good stay-in for sure. The Scarf Jirachi has to lock into Iron Head against a fully healthy team, against a bulky, resistant Pokemon at that. So, if it wants to lock into Iron Head, let it. And most of the time it's going to U-turn. And, so, Actually, that feels more... I guess that could be Specs or Lustrous. My head calcs have not been the best lately. But either way, it was a good move. Even if you are Specs and locked into it, it's not like the Scarf Jirachi, for the reasons we just mentioned, is exactly forcing you out immediately. So he just... but he was Lustrous. Okay, thank God I was at least right about that. He just stays in and surfs, trying to take out the Jirachi there. And Rayquaza comes in, so nice pivot by Thorks, avoiding the Spatial Rend, which is otherwise going to rip through. Makes the risky move of going to Ray, but now he's going to E-Speed, and what's going to come in? Groudon eats the E-Speed up all day, so... AM sure likes his son, it seems. E-Speed crit does quite a bit of damage, which is going to put it in Draco range. Yeah, so that is rough, but now Dio Speed comes in, so and gets spiked, so it looks like that was going to be the rocker for AM. And he's going to get multiple layers at least, so Jirachi, Dialga, Kyogre are all going to be affected. And if the DOS... No, it doesn't have E-Speed. Now he goes to Dialga. So, remember earlier in the video we mentioned EQ Mix-Ray, and looks like Thorks already had that idea. Hitting Jirachi at -2, really nicely done. As AM, Scarf Dialga eats 2 E-Speeds and locks into Brick Break. Here comes Mewtwo. DOS, a good sacrifice. And Calm Minds. Now, we don't know what this DOS has. If it has T-Wave or it's Trick Scarf, then that can, that's going to help out a lot. And it locks it into Ice Beam at least. Now, is he going to... Oh, yeah. Well, Ho-Oh is going to be a big threat. Now, it doesn't have Sun, and the Kyogre is going to come in, but... well, it shows Sub, so that's dangerous. And it's faster, so that Brave Bird's really going to sting. Oh my god, that does so much. Ho-Oh has been such a champion in this tournament. As Thunder going to do approximately sub-breaking damage, and now Brave Bird, recoil, but Kyogre goes down. So in comes Dialga. And Ho-Oh roosts back up to full, doesn't go for Sacred Fire, and avoids the Thunder hit. Well, he probably would have gotten taken out by that point. So now he's got we got a sub-roost game on our hands, and it's tough to set up rocks against this. I mean, I assume he's going to do it at some point, or he just doesn't have them, because in Rain, at this health, like especially once he hits over half, if you have rocks, well, I guess the rocks don't do anything if you can't roar after. If it was roar rocks Dialga, then yes, that would be the correct course of action, easily. But if you don't have roar, then it's kind of all for naught. And instead we have this sub-roost game where you're just trying to get the para on the turns that Ho-Oh roosts, and you only have a couple chances to force Ho-Oh to roost because pressure drains the PP so fast, and, sub also, so... And, but now he finds out that Dragon Pulse breaks the sub, so that helps out as well, but at this point he's only got one Thunder, thanks to pressure. And Roost also, he has Earth Power, so that's cool, and Roost also means that Earth Power, as opposed to Recover, that he can be hit by Earth Power. This is generally why Recover is preferable. I mean, it's more for EQing Groudons, but yeah. He gets the burn on the first Sacred Fire, and as long as he doesn't... I mean, roosting on Earth Power is hardly even the end of the world, because he has to do it multiple times, and again, pressure stalling. God, Ho-Oh is such a monster. As Dragon Pulse, breaking subs, and... I mean, either you Earth Power, and is the Thunder going to get the para? It does. But that doesn't even matter at this point, because that was the last Thunder, and so maybe Dragon Pulse should have started being used earlier. And now you can't even Earth Power on the Roost, because you Earth Power first before Ho-Oh can Roost, so you're just stuck with Dragon Pulsing it for approximately 32, not a lot of damage. But yeah, so now it looks like, barring bad para luck, or crits, I suppose, then Ho-Oh might be able to come out of this with a sub. And, with the Scarf Jirachi and then a Mewtwo that's locked into... That's been forced to Scarf, then... Yeah, okay, Jirachi... So, Dialga's out of Dragon Pulses now, can only Earth Power. So, the Jirachi is forced to switch into the Ho-Oh, never a good sign, and it gets taken out by the Sacred Fire. So, here comes Dialga. So, that's also not a good sign, because he just forces... I guess he's with pressure, then he burns a Sacred Fire PP now. Or, he burned 2 Sacred Fire PPs, but... And now Mewtwo can do the same, because it's in Rain, and he doesn't get the burn, so yeah, he's down to his last Sacred Fire. So, I mean, I guess there's that, and the fact that Scarf Dialga... Yeah, but I mean, he's not ice beaming his way through Scarf Dialga. He doesn't get the burn, but now Ho-Oh is pressured and Palkia goes down, so he doubles to Darkrai. And if this is Scarf Darkrai, then he might have a chance. He goes to Ho-Oh, nicely done, and it shows Focus Blast. So is it going to lock into Focus Blast? Oh, it's not Scarf. So Scarf Dialga is going to win this one. So really nicely done on AM's end. And that was nicely done because if we assume the last is Giratina O, then if it was a Scarf Darkrai and KO'd the Dialga, then Mewtwo comes in, gets KO'd, and Scarf Dialga can't KO Giratina from full, or even Rocks, after Rocks with Dark Pulse. So then Tina O would have stayed in and beaten it one-on-one. So that was a really, really nice setup from endgame clean from AM. And yeah, okay, so the Scarf Mewtwo, the Force Scarf Mewtwo has Aura Sphere, so it actually did wind up locking into a fighting move. And it did wind up being Giratina, so very clean. So that was the first game, and now we go on to game 2. So DOA, DOA. Always a fun sign of a stallish game to come. So Ice Beam, Spikes from AM. Now in comes Dialga on the E-Speed. So Thorax is just attacking. No lefties. Hey, is it going to Rocks? It's going to Earth Power it down to the Sash. So this DOA has brought 2 Pokemon in a very low health range. And it has Ice Beam too, so the Lugia that comes in is going to... It's not exactly taking 0 damage either. And so that DOA faints for the price of bringing DOA down to the opposing DOA down to the Sash, Dialga to 12, and Lugia to 28. So that's a pretty brutal start. And now here comes Darkrai to get a KO before it gets to Dark Void something. So it takes out the Dialga, shows Life Orb, but now AM's DOA is back. And Thorax has a Spike's immune counter, which is helpful in his Zong. So, oh, but there's HP Fire ready to... what's it called? Catch... Yes, please continue watching. Ready to catch an unaware Fortress that have been popping up in the lead slot. So in comes AM's own Darkrai. Protect... Ooh, sub. That's... A free sub on Darkrai is one of the most devastating things you can do. Yeah. I mean, it's not like he expected Protect. He probably just expected Rocks or something. But just, like, if there's a chance that your opponent might give you that free sub, I mean, he might have even just wanted to get a free KO by forcing the Bronzong to explode if it stayed in. So, but now he's got a free sub, and he nasty plots before even Dark Voiding. So that's really nicely done. Because now he gets another free... now he gets the Dark Void off, and then a free sub, and he's already got +2. So beautifully done. So, yeah, this is looking pretty nasty. I mean, that mono dark coverage can kind of hurt, but especially against a bulky Dialga. But I mean, he still slept the Zong, which is at very low health. So, and he's gonna chunk that. He finds out what the response is at least, and this Dialga does not look. I mean, there's also the chance of flinches, which makes Darkrai such a devil. But yeah, he finds out what the Dialga set is at least, and it roars out. So that flinch really did hurt, but now Lugia's going to come in, and so the Zong does not have Rocks. The Dialga has Rocks, so that's interesting. So Roar, oh, Lugia tried to Calm Mind and got roared again. I was surprised by that. I didn't think he was going to Calm Mind when the Dialga just showed Roar. But yeah, now Darkrai comes in, and it's got Mono, and good move. Thorax roars again, not letting the Darkrai get the +2. And he reveals that there's a Palkia at least, but now Dialga's finally going to succumb. Dialga's going to succumb to the Draco that's fired off, and now Kyogre comes in. And with Palkia at -2, then that's generally a good sign, but it's Scarf Kyogre, gets Thunder, gets parried, and gets crit by the -2 Palk, so that sucks a lot. So at least Chomp is threatening now, but I don't know. I mean... I guess he didn't want to Dragon Claw into a Habin thing, but it felt like... I know... Yeah, I don't know. Kyogre just... Kyogre felt so threatening with... Excuse me. Yeah, so, I mean, he got unlucky there for sure. Maybe he wanted to Thunder and then sack Zong, and... So, yeah, I think that was fair. Thunder, sack Zong after, go to Chomp and threaten some more. Well, maybe not Chomp, but... Because then Darkrai comes in, but, you know, something. Find out the set at least. I guess, yeah, going to Kyogre also let him find out if it was Scarf or non-Scarf Palkia, so that was just an unfortunate turn. So there's Dragon Claw, and it wasn't Habin, so, not that he could have known that, of course. So in comes Groudon, Chomp SDs, Groudon Rock Polishes, And now Groudon EQs does a ton of damage. Takes less, or actually like 3% more, but you know, whatever. And yeah, so that's going to be a sweep. So those are my favorite series from round 2, in addition to the part 1 video, of course, which you can check out if you haven't. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you look forward to further coverage of this tournament, as well as, of course, other videos. So I'll catch you next time.